A very good evening to all of you. I'm Nushara Aryavansa, your moderator for the day. Welcome to the first session of the 8 weeks of code brought to you by the ACM student chapter of UCSC. First of all, let's get to know what ACM is. ACM, also known as the Association for Computing Machinery, is the world's largest educational and scientific computing society. At the UCSC ACM student chapter, we motivate our members to volunteer for projects by offering them valuable skill building opportunities and the chance to connect with others in the industry. We also provide certificates and unique swag items at our events. To name a few of our projects that we have in our store, we have NOI, IOI, ISIJ, APIO, Hash Code, 8 weeks of code, ACM meetups, Postman API Fest. Out of these events, 8 weeks of code consists of 8 sessions in total. It will include 3 mentoring sessions and 5 competitive programming competition rounds, where we mainly focus in C++ and Python programming languages. Today, the session's main focus is upon C++ programming. Without further delay, I would like to welcome our 2 speakers for the day, Pubudu Anuradha and Samidu Kure. Being third-year undergraduates here at UCSC, Pubudu Aya makes 1/3 of the ultimate championship trio, UCSC's team Chimera, while Samidu Aya has first-hand experience as an ICT instructor with a demonstrated history of working in the computer software industry. So let's warmly welcome our speakers for the day, Pubudu Aya and Samidu Aya. Hello.
Hello, Ranga.
Yes, Aya, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm audible, right?
Yes, yeah. Okay, great. So I'm not gonna be in the way anymore. Samidu Aya, the audience is yours.
Thank you. So, first of all, I would like the organizing committee, thank the organizing committee for giving me this chance. So, without taking more time, I will start my session. Okay. So I'm going to talk about C++. Okay. So, what is C++? So, C++ is an programming language. It was developed as an extension of C. So we have some syntaxes similar to C in C++, and C++ is an object-oriented programming language. So there are 2 types, right? I think you all know that there are procedural languages and object OOP languages, object-oriented languages. So C++ is one of the object-oriented programming language, which is easy to handle. So we can use C++. If we know C, we can use it very easily. And the difference between C and C++ is mainly the object-oriented nature. So C is a procedural language. We cannot handle real-world data with C, but in C++ we can do procedural things and also object-oriented programming. So if we want to work with C++, I recommend the IEDs, integrated development environments. I recommend you all to use Visual Code or Dev C++ or Code Block or Eclipse. So I myself use Visual Studio Code because it's easy to handle. And for the compiler, you'll have to use GCC, which can be installed to your computer by downloading MinGW setup. So I'll share these links so you all can watch these and set up your environment. Okay, so that's it. That's about the environmental setup and the about C++. So now let's start C++ programming. Okay. So in C++, first thing we have to do is we have to import headers to our file. So these headers consist of the functions and the objects that we can use in our program. So this I have included this. This is the syntax to include a header file. So I have included the IO stream file. So this IO stream file does is it gives us the input output. It's called the input output stream or input output header. So it gives us the functions that help us to output, print our outputs and take inputs from the users. So that this I have imported that, included that header. So other than that, y'all can include this header file also, bits/stdc++.h header. So the thing that this header does is it includes all the files, all the header files, not one by one. So if we want to do some functions, we have to import the header files one by one. But if you all include this header file, it imports or includes all of the header files that are in C++. So I recommend it to all to use it in for competitions. Otherwise, if you're all doing some small work or small programs, do not import this file because it imports all the header files. Okay. So I have imported this header file, and in the function, this main function is when we run the code, things inside this main function are the things that are running. So you all have to put the main code inside this main function, and we have to give it like this. So std : means we are using this cout from our standard library. So we have to give that. We have to say we are using this cout from our standard library. That's why I put std : and I have to put that here also. Now, if I run this code, so I get the word output hello world. So what I did was I used the cout function, which the main function to print our outputs in the console. Okay? In the console. So it's from the IO stream header, and we have to say that it's from the standard library. So when we are using the cout function throughout our program, we have to put this. Okay. Not only cout, the endl and all the functions that are in IOStream or any other header files, we have to tell that it's from this standard library. But if we use this using namespace std, we do not have to use this keyword. So if we use this using namespace std, it takes the we can omit this std : from our program. So now if I run this, it works as well. So always remember to import to put using namespace std in your program. Okay. Then this is the way to output your output or print the things you all want in the console. And if you all want to take inputs from the user, we can follow this. So we can assign a variable, or we can implement define a variable. So I have defined int x, integer variable x called x. Then no. Then I am printing type a number, and by using cin function or cin object, I'm taking the value that the user inputs to the variable x. And then in the next line, I have printed, I put this line to show you all that the value that I entered comes to this x variable. So now if I run this code, so it says type a number, and I click here, I get a chance to enter a value. So if I put 10, it says your number is 10. So first thing you all have to remember is cout. If you want to print something in the console or output our results, we have to use cout and two angle brackets towards the cout. And if we are using cin, we have to cin is used to take inputs from the user and save it in a variable. So cin, we have to use angle brackets toward the variable. So this is the syntax to take inputs and outputs our results in the console. So hope you all understood it. So that's the basic syntax in the C++. We have to include the headers we want, and we have to say using namespace std, or we have to include that keyword in every function we are using. And these are the two ways to print our outputs and take inputs. Okay. Then I want to talk about the data types. So in every programming language, there are data types. There are data types, basic data types, right? So we learned about in the first year, you all learn about integers, float, double, then strings, char. So in C++ also, we have integers. So in integers, for integers, there's a 4-byte memory space allocated for each variable, and we can assign whole numbers to these variables. So if I, for the first one, I have defined a number integer, int number, and assigned 10 to it. And I have tried to output that value. So now if I run this code, it's for prints integer 10. Right? So if I put a decimal value here and run this, still it shows me the integer part. So always remember, for the integer data type, it only stores integer part, the whole number part. Right? Then if we want to, if we want a variable that stores decimal values, floating numbers, we can use float. So for the float data type also, in C++, there's a 4-byte memory location for each and every float variable. Now I have defined a float variable called decimal and assigned 10.5 to it, the decimal value. And let's try to print it. So if I run the code, it outputs the decimal value. So in float, if I give a whole number to that, and now if I run this, so we can assign whole numbers to it. Okay. Then we have double data type. It also stores decimal values, but the difference between float and double is it allocates 8-byte memory location, 8 bytes to this variable. So if the size of the decimal value is more than 4 bytes, we can use double. Okay. So now I have defined the variable called decimal 2 and assigned 10.9 to it. I can print it. So it gives me double value as well. Then we have char. So you'll learn in C also, we can store a letter, a character in char data type. So the memory location allocated for char is 1 byte. Okay. So here I have defined a character variable or char variable called letter and assigned the letter D to it. Now if I print it here, so it gives me the output, the character D. Then we can define Boolean variables. So Boolean data type. So bool also allocates 1 byte to its a Boolean variable, and I can store true or false, either true or false or 0 or 1. So now I have defined a variable called flag and stored false here. So if I print it, if I print this flag value, it gives me 0 because in bool data type, if I assign value false here, it stores the value as 0. So always remember, the value stored in a bool variable is either 0 or 1, and it gives if we print it, it gives 0 or 1. Okay. Then in C, we did not have a specific data type called string, right? We had to use char arrays to store strings. But in C++, we have a string data type. Actually, it's a class, a string class. Uh, you all will learn what is a class in near future. But and in C++, they're called a string data type, and this string data type is a class. We can store characters, a sequence of characters, a sentence or a word in string data type. We don't have to use a char array to store a string, okay, a word. Now I have, and for a string variable, it allocates 24 bytes, and these 24 bytes is not fixed. It can grow. That means this string variable has a dynamic memory location, dynamic memory allocation. That means the size of the string can grow, but at first, when we are defining a string, it allocates 24 bytes, but afterwards it can grow. Okay. So now I have assigned hello world, the string, these two words to the string variable word, and we can output it like this. So these 6 types, the data types, are the primary data types in C++. So in your programs, you all have to use these data types as you all want. Okay. And now I'll go into my next section, strings. So y'all didn't have strings in C, right? But in C++, as I told you all, we have string data type, which is a string. Actually, it's a class, and we can allocate a sequence of letters there. Now, first I have allocated, defined a string word1, the variable word1, and there I have stored hello, and I have defined word2, and I have stored word there. And in here, I'm trying to output these values to variables in my console. So I'm calling my cout object or cout function and passing the variable, first variable, word1. And again, I want to keep a space between the two words. So I'm putting the 2 angle brackets, and I have given a space there. So here it's a space, and I have passed the second variable. So in this way, I can print the 2 words together in the console. And if I run this code, sorry, yeah, if I run this code, it prints hello world together. Right? And in C++, we can do concatenation. That means we can add 2 or more words, 2 or more strings together and store it in another string variable. In here, what I have done is, so I have implemented string called greeting, a variable, string variable called greetings, and I have added the 2 words that I have stored in word1, variable word1 and variable word2 together. When I'm adding, I have added a space as well in the between. So remember, when concatenating, we can use the plus operation in the strings. So in a string variable, if we add 2 string variables, it means it concatenate the 2 strings or 2 words. Now, if I print this one, you'll see that. So I have printed the greetings variable. So in the greeting variable, I have concatenated the word1, word2 with a space in between. So it outputs hello world. So this is the way, this is the method to concatenate two strings. And also remember, we cannot concatenate strings and int values, integers. Okay, we cannot concatenate strings and integers. So I'll show you all an example. So I'll take another word, string a equals to, so word1 plus, I'll define another integer variable int called b equals to 10. Now I will try to add this b to here. It's already giving me an error. No operator plus matches these operands because this is a string and this is a int. So always remember, we cannot add two strings and a string and an integer together. Concatenate a string and integer together directly. If I run this, sorry, if I run this, so it gives me a big error. So keep that in mind. We cannot concatenate an integer and a string together directly. Then we have we can find the length of a string by using dot size function or dot length function. So the choice is all. We can use both the dot string and dot length functions to find the length, the number of characters in the in a string. So if I run this, so both gives me 12 because there are 12 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So space is also a character. Keep that in mind. So there are 12 characters in this string. So by using the dot size function and dot length function, we can find the length, the number of characters in a string. Then in strings, we can access a character in a string, a character by character. We can access a character in a string. Now, if I print this, cout word1 0. So in the string variable word1, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters, and the 0th character means the first one. So it's like the char array in C, right? So in char array in C, you can access a character, no, like this. In here also, in the string variable, you can access word1 0 and access the first letter, first character in the string. Now, if I print this, so it gives me H, right? The first character of the word1 variable. So not only accessing the character, we can change the value of the character. So I have given word1 0, the first place of the word1 string, and I have assigned J to it. So, and now if I run this hello becomes Jello, right? It becomes Jello. The letter H is replaced by J. So let's remember, we can access a character in the string variable. Then when we talk about special characters like the single quote, the double quote, and the backslash, we cannot directly use them in the when we are outputting a value, we cannot directly use them because they are special characters, because the single quote is used to give single characters, right? The single quote is used to give single characters, and the double quote is used in strings to show that it's a string, right? here. And the backslash is also used as a special character. Now, if I put this one, take this out, it shows me an error, right? User defined literal operator not found. And if I run this, it gives me an error because I have used 2 double quotes here. That's why I have to put a backslash there to show it's a special character that needed to be printed in the console. So if I run this now, these special characters are printed as well. So you all have to keep that in mind. Right? When we are using special characters, we have to put a backslash in front of it. And the special characters are single quote, double quote, and backslash. And other than that, we can use this backslash n to print a new line like this. One. If I use this backslash n, it prints these 2 words in 2 lines. Or if I run this, see, 1 and 2 in 2 new lines. And if I use backslash t, it keeps a tab space between the 2 words. So now if I run this, it keeps the tab space between the 2 words. So we have to use backslash n for new lines, backslash t for tab spaces, right? Then in characters, if we want to take a string input in our program, we can use cin to take inputs. So if I write John here, it outputs the full name John, right? But if I inputs a value with a space like this, John Doe. If I input a value with a space, I have kept a space there and enter. The John part, the first part of the input I have entered is stored in the full name variable, because in C++, the space character is taken as the end of the input. The space character is taken as the end of the input. So when the cin function assigns the input of the user to the variable, it only assigns the part before the spaces, before the first space. So here I kept a space there, John, after John, and the cin function assigned only John to the full name variable. But it's an issue, right? We have to keep spaces in our sometimes we have to keep spaces when we are entering the inputs. So for that requirement, we have to use the getLine function. For the getLine function, we have to pass the cin. In getLine function, we have to pass the cin object and the variable that the user input had to be stored. We have to pass cin and the variable that we have to store the user input. Now, if I run this and put John Doe here, so it doesn't care about the spaces. It stores all the characters in the variable that we pass. So it's very important to use getLine when we are taking string inputs from the users. Hope you all understood it. So those are the things that we can do with strings. So someone have asked why we use endl. So we use endl to keep a new line. Okay. So now if I take this endl out and run this. So it doesn't takes the type your full name for the new line. That's why we have to keep put endl. Oh, if y'all are not using endl, y'all can put a new line character. So it both of them does the same thing. See, either this or y'all can put endl. End of the line. Both does the same thing. Hope you all understood it. All right, then next I'm going to talk about arrays in C++. So we can we have 6 data types, right? For all the 6 data types, we can use arrays. We can define arrays. So here I have defined an integer array. So it says intar, and I have opened a square bracket, and I have given a value here. So this value means, so I have given 5. It means I wanted to define an integer array of size 5. That means with 5 elements. So I have defined the integer array of size 5. And first I have only assigned 2 values to that. The first one, the second values, only 2 values. So let's remember we can define arrays without assigning values for the full length. That means if the array is 5, we do not have to assign 5 values to the array at first. Okay. So here I have only assigned 2 values, and I printed the first, sorry, not the second value in here. So now if I print it, it prints second element of the intar is 2. It's right. So the second element is 2. And the index of the second element is 1. It's because in C++, array index starts at 0. Array index start at 0. So I think you all know that in programming languages there are different starting indexes. In some programming languages it's 1, and in some it's 0. So in C and C++, the starting index of an array is 0. That's why I passed 1 here to print the second element of the array. And in C++, we cannot directly print an array, directly print all the elements of an array. And like in Python, we can print all the elements directly by passing the in array's name to the print function. We can directly print the array, right? But in C++, we cannot directly print the array. We have to print element by element. So here I have assigned the values for the other positions, other indexes of the array. So for the index 2, 3, for the index 3, value 4, index 4, value 5, we can assign after defining, we can assign values after defining the array. And then I have printed the elements of the array one by one like this. So we cannot accommodate to print all the elements at once. We have to print element wise in C++ arrays. So now if I run this, it prints elements of int arrays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have print the elements one by one. All right. Then we can define string arrays as well, like this. So I have implemented a string array of size 4 and pass 4 values. And if you all want to find the number of elements in an array, there is no direct method. We have to do a small trick. So the trick is like this. If I run this code, it gives me the size, the memory size of the array. So size of intar means, so intar is an integer array with 5 elements. And I told you all that for an integer, it allocates 4 bytes. That means 4 bytes of 5 elements, right? That means 20 bytes. The size of function, what size of function does is, it gives the memory size, amount of memory allocated to a variable. So first we have to take that, the amount of memory that's allocated to the variable, array or an integer. So now if we want to find the length of an array, we can divide this value by. So now we know that it gives the memory size of an array, right? The total memory size of the array. Now if we divide it by the size of the integer, the size of the integer data type, we know that the size of the integer data type is 4. If I print it, it will give me 4. So size of int, yeah, it gives 5. Okay, so if I print this, it gives me 5, right? So it divides the size of memory size of the array by the memory size of a integer. Then 20 divides by 4. 20 is the size of the array for 5 elements. For 5 elements, it's 20 bytes. And for an integer, it's 4 bytes. So 20 divided by 4, 5. That's how we can get the length of an array, the number of elements in an array. And if you want to get the size or number of elements in a string array, we can pass the size function, pass the array name to the size of function and divides it by the size of a string. So now if I run this, it prints size of the str array is 4. It's right. We have 4 elements in the str array. So let's remember there's no function to directly find out the number of elements in an array in C++. We have to divide the size of the array, the total memory size of the array, by the size of the data type. That's how we can get the number of elements in an array. So hope you all understood about the arrays in C++ and and how to find the length or the number of elements in an array. Okay. Then I'm going to move to operators. So we have 4 types of operators: arithmetic operators, assignment operators, logical operators, and comparison operators. So arithmetic operations are the operations that we can do in mathematical way, right? So mathematical operators: plus, minus, multiplication, subtraction, and mod. So in computer science, we have to use mod, right? So to find the sum of 2 integers, we can use plus operator. To find the difference between 2 integers, we can use the minus operator. To multiply 2 values, we can use star operator. That's the multiplication operator in programming languages. Most of the programming languages star. Then we can use forward slash as the division operator. It's the division operator in C++ to divide one value by another value. And the percentage mark is the mod operator. So we can get the remainder when we divide 2 values, right? So these are the basic 5 operators, arithmetic operators. And other than that, we have an increment operator and a decrement operator. So in C++, we can use the increment operator like this: num1 plus plus after the variable. I have put plus plus here. What this does is, so I have defined the increment one variable, right? So this operator does is, it assigns the value of num1 to increment 1, and it increments the value in num1. Now if I run this, it shows me the initial value of num1 is 100, and here the increment 1 is 100, but num1 have become 101. What happened here is, the value of num1 is assigned to increment 1 operator, and then the value of num1 is increased and stored it in the same. So 100 is assigned to increment 1, and 100 is incremented by 1. So we call this postfix increment operator. Postfix increment operator. The assignment is done first, and then the increment. Okay. Then the next operator, we have another increment operator. It's called the prefix increment operator. What does is, it increments the value first, then assigns the value to the variable. So I have taken num1 variable which have 100. So 100 is incremented by 1. Plus plus increments it by 1. Then it is allocated to increment 2 variable. So now if I run here, so it gives me 101 twice, because increment 2 have 101, num1 have 101, because the value is incremented first and then assigned to the variable. In postfix, value is assigned first, then incremented later. So y'all can use these two postfix and prefix increment variables, increment operators, as y'all want, according to the thing that y'all want to do. Okay, so keep that in mind. We can use the increment operators in two ways, two methods to use them. Then we have decrement operator. Like the increment operator, we have two ways: postfix decrement, prefix decrement. So in postfix, the value is assigned first, then the decrement happens. So if I run this, 100 is assigned to decrement 1 variable, and in num1 it is decremented by 1. Num1 becomes 99. Then the next method is prefix. The value is assigned, value is decremented first, then assigned. So if I run this, both values are 99. In decrement 2 it's 99, and num1 it's 99. So decremented first, then assigned. So you all have to be careful when you are using the increment and decrement operators according to the postfix and prefix method. Hope you all understood it. Then these are the arithmetic operators, basic arithmetic operations that we can do in C++. Then we have assignment operators. So the basic assignment operator is equal assignment operator. So you all know that it does is, it assigns a value to a variable. So simply I have taken a1 variable, defined a1 variable, and assigned 5 to it. Now if I print it, a1 variable have 5. Right. Then we have another assignment operator, plus equal. This, what plus equal does is, it adds the 5, the given value, it's at the given value to the variable and assigned it again to it. So it's simply a1 is equals to a1, the existing value is added with 5. We are adding 5 to the existing value and storing it in the same variable. So without putting it like this, we can put it like this: a1 plus equals 5. So this operator does is, it does the same thing like this. So now if I run this, so initially a1 is 5. Now it adds 5 to the existing value 5. So 5 plus 5 is 10. It outputs 10. Then like that we have minus the equal operator. It also subtract 5, the subtract given value from the existing value and assigning it to the same variable. Now if I run this, it gives me 0. So initial value is 5 and 5 is subtracted from it, we get 0. Then we have plus uh, multiply equal. It's the same as before. It multiplies the given value by the existing value and assigning it to the same variable. So already existing value is 5 and I am multiplying it by 5 here and storing it in A1. So now if I put outputs A1, I should get 25. I got 25. Okay. So likewise, we have division, division operator, division equal and mod equal. It does the same thing. Division equal divides the existing value by the given value and assigning it to the same variable. Mod equal find the remainder when we divide the existing value from the given value and assigning it to the so here initial value is 5. If we divide 5 by 5, the answer should be 1. We get 1. And the initial, after dividing 5 by 5, we get A1 is 1. Then 1 mod 5 is 1, right? When we divide 1 by 5, the remainder is 1. Then we get 1. So these are the basic assignment operators in C++. So without writing it like this, we can directly write it like this. So those are some easy ways to do arithmetic operations and assignments in C++. The next part is we have comparison operators. So in the word, it says comparison. That means comparing two values, right? Comparing two values or two strings or any data types. We can compare two data types. We have x equals y. So this says we are comparing two values whether x is equals to y. It's not t equal, right? Because in x I have stored 5 and y I have stored 9. Now I compare them, whether x is equals to y and output the result. So if I run this, it gives me 0. It gives me 0 because x is not equals to y. Then I'm checking whether x is not equals to y. So it's outputting a Boolean value, either 0 or 1. Now if I have checked whether x is not equals to y, it's true, right? So I get 1 because it's true. This statement is true. This condition is true. X is not equals to y. I got true. Then I'm checking whether x is greater than y. It should be false. Therefore, I got 0. Then I'm checking whether x is less than y. I get 1 because x is less than y. 5 is less than 9. So I get a true as the result return value. So it's true. Here also we can use, there are two other comparison operators, greater than or equal, less than or equal. Both are used to do comparisons. So first one is greater than or equals, it's false. Next one is less than or equals, it's true. So these are the 6 basic comparison operators in C++. And then we have logical operators. So logical operators are and, not, or, right? And, or, not. So first one I have checked. I have outputted the AND operator. So here I have checked whether x is equals to y or x is equals to not equals to y. The result is, here the result is true. Sorry, here the result is false, and here the result is true. And we know that if we pass a true and a false to AND, we get false. So, so for the first one, I got 0 because this statement is false. When we pass a true and a false to AND, we get false. Then here I have passed a false statement here, and here I have passed a true statement to the O. And we know that if we pass a true value and a false value to O operation, we get a true value as the result. So I have got 1 here because I have passed true and false to O. And previously for this one we got true, so I have passed that value to the not operator. So the not operator is exclamation mark. So we know that if we pass the true for not, we get false. If we pass false for not, we get true. So it's the exclamation mark. Not operator, we get 0 as the output. So these three, and, O, and not, are the basic logical operators you can use in your program. Next, I'm going to move to conditions. So if statements, one of the structures in programming. So at first, in C++, we can just pass a condition and do something, right? Only a fixed thing. If the condition is true, we can do that, a fixed thing. So here I have implemented integer array times integer variable 6, and I have checked whether this time is less than 12. If so, I'm outputting the value good morning. So let's try this. So it says good morning, right? Because the value I have passed is less than 12, because this statement becomes true. If I pass a value greater than that, it doesn't print anything because I haven't given any statements to do when the value is condition is false, and this condition becomes false here because the value is 16 there. And if we want to do something when we get a false condition as well, we can use if else. Not only if, we can use else statement as well. So what if else does means, we can pass, if the condition is true, we can do one thing, and if the condition is false, we can do another thing. Now if I run this code, so it says good day because 6 is less than 18, and if I give here 24, so it says good evening because the condition becomes false and passes to the else condition. So that's what happens in else if. And we have if else if. So what if else if does means, it we can give some conditions. If this condition satisfies, it prints this. If this condition doesn't satisfy, it checks another condition. Likewise, it goes up to else. So we can pass it like this. So initially I will get this. So it will be good morning. And if I pass a value greater than 12 and less than 16, like 14, it should print good afternoon. And if I pass a value between 14 and 18, 16 and 18, like 17, it prints evening. And if I pass a value greater than 18, it should print good night, like 20. It'll be good night. So that's how we can use else if if you have some conditions to use, check. And this is the method to print. We can, this is the short form of if. So we can pass the condition and put a question mark. And first we are giving the true. If the condition is true, what should be the output or the return value? If the condition is false, what should be the return value? So this is the short form of if statements. So if I run this, so it checks whether time is less than 18. So it outputs good evening because the time is 20. So this is the short form to use if statements. So those are the basic conditions that we can use in our programs. If, else if, else if. Then I'm going to go for loops. So the first loop we can use is while loop, while do. So it's a simple loop. We have to give the keyword while, and we have to check the condition while loop. We have to check the condition I less than or equals 5. Right? You can have to check it. Then until this I reaches a value 5. So I am checking whether I is less than 5 until the value becomes 6 or until the value becomes 5. This condition runs. So if I run this, it outputs the value. So see first 0, then increment, then checks the condition, still the value is 1. It prints the value, then increment. Likewise, up to 4, it comes 4 comes here, 4 is less than 5, true, comes here, prints the value, increment. Now the value is 5. When 5 comes here, the condition becomes false because 5 is not less than 5. Therefore, it becomes false. The loops terminates. That's what's happened in while loop. We have to use a count. If I not using this increment, that means the while loop, the I value is the same. It's not changing. It runs without terminating. See, it's not terminating. So always remember, if you are using while or do while, always you all have to use the increment or decrement operators according to the conditions you all are using. So please keep that in mind. Then we have do while. So in do while, it's also like the while loop, but the difference between while and do while, the condition is checked at last. The condition is checked at last. So the loops I have run here, the while loop and do while loop does the same thing, but the difference is in while the condition is checked at the top, and do while the condition is checked at the after executing the values inside the do while loop. So that's the difference between the while and do while loop. So the usage, it's use of while and do while varies from the what the things you all are doing in your program. So you all have to select whether you are using while or do while according to the things you all are doing. So that's a do while. Then we have for loop, the easiest loop. So in for loop, first you all have to define a variable with a starting value. We are starting I. So I have started I from 0. Then you all have to give a condition, a specific condition. I am checking whether I is less than or equals 10. And you all have to pass the increment or decrement according to the condition you all are using. So there are 3 things you all have to pass: the variable and the starting point, the condition or the ending point, and the increment or decrement according to the things you all have to do. So here I am incrementing I value by 1 by 1 and printing the values. So if I run this, so it prints from 0 to 10, right? Because I am running this loop until I is greater than 10. So this runs until I is less than or equals to 10. So that's for loop. Then we can use the for loop to print an array. So earlier I told you all that we cannot directly print an array. So we can use a for loop to print the values of an array without passing the indexes one by one. So here I have started the for loop and passes the I variable from 0 and up to I less than 10. So one by one array index, and I pass the variable in the for loop as the index. So this loop runs. When the loop runs, it see out the array indexes one by one. So first it outputs array index 0, then the I increments, it outputs array index 1, then it outputs array index 2 until it outputs array index 9, because I have passed the condition as I less than 10. So now if I run this, it outputs the array elements one by, it prints the array elements in the console one by one. So this method, I have used the index method. That means I am passing the incrementing value and using the array, passing the incremented value as the index to the array. So without doing it like this, we can do it easily like this. We can use the for loop and takes the element by element to another variable. So what this does is, we can pass a variable here, string item, specific to this for loop, and put the colon, and after the colon you all can pass the array. So when we do it like this, element by element, the elements of the array is passed to this item variable. Then we can print it like this. So now if I run this one, the elements of the array variable is passed to this array string item variable one by one, and we can print it like this. So those are the things we can do using the for loop. So basic things we can do the for loop. So these are the basic things that we can do from C++. And for your first stage in the competition in C++, you all can use this knowledge, what I have done, the basic things, to use do the competition. So that's the point I have given to talk about. So I hope you all understood it. Now Pubudu will talk about collections and stuff for you. So hope you all understood it, and thank you.
Okay, then can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me share the screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, I am.
So let's talk about functions first. So functions are stuff like when you write a lot of code, you have to do a lot of repetitive stuff, right? So say you want to add stuff for write some formula and get the result, and you have to do it again and again and again and again. So in situations like that, you can write function to make it easier. So this is an add function that I just write. Don't do this in your code because this is very simple. Don't do this. But a function is defined like with the first you give the return type of the function. So this add function has two arguments, a and b. So these arguments are then added into this new variable sum and returned at last. So this returned argument, no. So the return values type must be given at first. So without giving that, it will be wrong. So if I try to like do this void means that there is no actual returning value. So if I try to write that, it'll give an error. So you can't actually do this. So if I try to run it, it will compile, I think. What the hell is this? So I don't know why that ran, but you have to give the correct return type here. Okay. So I've written a simple program that just takes a and b integers and gives us the sum of them again via the add function that I wrote. So I can just change this function here if I want to, like if I want to add like 8 times 2 and b times 3 or something like that. If I run that, it should be in 20. That changes the behavior of the function here, and you don't have to. So if I try to do this again and again and again, you don't have to write it again and again here. You can just change the implementation here, and it will be done here as well. So I'll say 5 and 50. So same thing happens again and again. You don't have to repeat things here. That's the power of the function. So let's talk about some other things about functions. So I've written a function with declaration here, but like it's closed with a semicolon, right? This means that the function is declared, but the definition of the function is not given here. You guys should actually use this in your normal C code, but for comparisons, it's not really necessary. But so I've written the declaration here, and I've given the actual definition of the function here. So it's just a function to print an array from the first element to the nth element. So if I just comment this out and use this print array function. Before Samidu explained to you, like there is no easy way to just print an array to the console easily, right? So you can just write a function like this and do it easily again and again and again if you want to. So if I run that, it just prints all the elements in the array. So if elements in the array from 0 to 9, because the for loop runs from 0 to 10, 0 to 9, and I put a comma if the last element is not reached. If the last element is reached, I'll just put a new line in there. So I can just paste that, and it'll just work, right? Functions are supposed to be used for stuff that you repeat a lot. So if you have a competitive programming problem for something like drawing a pattern, you should use a function. I see a lot of people just in comparisons, if there's like a pattern drawing problem or something like that, they write a lot of for loops, like hundreds of for loops sometimes, just to get the pattern running. Don't do that. Just write a function and reuse it again and again. This will come up a lot in competitive programming situations. So please use functions as much as you can, but don't overdo it either. But since you are not having a lot of time, I'm going to give you some homework. So these are some problems that you should use Google or ChatGPT or whatever the hell you want to get the answers for these problems, because this will help you a lot in competitive programming and normal programming as well. So functions have these things called default arguments. You should find out what these are. Then there's also this thing called recursive functions. You should have learned this in first year, but please do revise on it, because they will be coming on the competitions. Then there's also the meaning of the passing arguments by reference. This is actually very important, because we just write functions like this, and if we don't do this, passing by arguments by reference, we will be overloading our memory very easily. So please learn what this means, and use it whenever you can in computer programming and also your normal programming. Then there's also function overloading. This is something that's only given in C++ itself. So it's not available in C, I think. So learn what this is and use it as well. Then there's also lambda expressions. These are not very useful for you right now, but these are very useful if you want to write stuff very quickly. So I can't show you an example right now because we don't have a lot of time. And don't worry, you don't have to write this down or anything like that, because I'll be giving all the code that's in this session as a PDF file. So you can just take your time and see all these problems and learn slowly. So you have a lot of time until the competitions begins, and it's also vacation right now. So you can take your time, learn these things by heart, then use them in your competitions, normal code, whatever you want. Okay. So let's move on from functions to collection types. So we already learned about arrays, but I'm going to go back to that again for a little bit. So an array is the collection of some elements of the same data type. So you can't have an array of integers and strings together, right? But and arrays are kind of inconvenient to use in C++. So it's something that comes from C itself. So it's not very developed, right? So for run this, it will just give the elements of the array one by one. But like these arrays are very primitive. They are very good for some users, but not always. So try not to use them as much as you can. No. Use them when it's actually necessary. So there are alternative collection container types that I'm going to be teaching you right now. So try to use those instead of arrays. But if the problem is a very simple one, don't try to use those other container types. Just use an array. So array should be used when you know the length of the array beforehand, and you know what kind of data type it's going to be. Don't use an array if you don't know what the length is going to be. Like no, don't use an array if you don't know what the maximum length of the array is going to be. And also don't like put like 100 and not initialize everything, because that's going to give you a lot of garbage values for the rest of the values. So don't do that. Actually know what you are going to be filling the array with. And so if you like have a 100 length array, fill the rest of the 95 elements with 0 or something, using a loop or whatever else. Don't leave it with garbage values whenever you can. Okay. Then there's also I made just a string array. Like this is necessary because Samit already showed you how this works. So, and he also showed you what the way to get the length of the array is, right? So you get size of the array, and then uh, divided by the size of the data type of the array, right? This is very inconvenient. So let's go see what an alternative for this array is in C++. In C++, there's this container type called vectors, right? These vectors are pretty much an array, but it works the same. So you can use indices 0, 1, 2, 3, and it just prints like that. Same as same as the normal array, but you initialize it like this vector, and in angle brackets you give the data type or class or whatever you have in the elements. So vector int means this is a vector of integers. I will just put the name as vector of integers as well because it's easy to read, but you can use just v or whatever you want. And the accessing of data is easily done via the square bracket. So you can just give an index and get the values inside easily. So if I run this, it gives these values, right? 5, 10, 6, 20, 1 in the same order. So vectors have a lot of convenient stuff built in, right? So if I there's the size function in the vector variable, so vector object. So you can just get the size easily, like you don't have to do a manual calculation like size of vector and divide by size of int. Those are unnecessary. You can just use size. So if I run this, it'll give you that the length of the vector, number of elements is 5, right? You don't have to like do calculations or whatever. Then there's also other built-in stuff like inserting into a certain index. So say if you want to, if it was an array, like so if I want to put 10 here, 10 or 100 or something here, you can't do that, right? Because the length is already declared and it's full. So you have to do some stuff like realloc and then move all the elements from one index each to the right, and that's a lot of work for a very simple thing, right? So you can instead in vectors you can just use the insert function. So I want to insert the value 10,000 to the index 1, right? So I'm using the vector of integers dot insert. This begin, how it works is vector of integers has the reference to where it begins, and I'm adding 1. So the where the index is going to be, and the value I'm going to insert to the vector, right? So right now in index number 1, it's 10, right? But if we insert it using this and run it again, we get like first index number 1 is 10. Then after inserting 10,000 to index 1 using this insert method, you just get index number 1 is 10,000 and 10 is automatically brought forward. So you don't need to like write a loop to shift everything one to the right, then increase the length manually. Don't need to do any of that. So you can just use insert. So vectors are very convenient compared to arrays, right? So especially in competitive programming, please use these to make your life easier. Don't like just because you learned C and just because you know how to realloc and then calloc and whatever, don't just waste your time with arrays, if you know that it's going to be more dynamic, just use a vector. Okay. Then there's also the pushback function. So it adds element to the end of the vector. So now it's if I so I'm using vector of integers with pushback. This pushback function, you have to remember how to use it. So pushback function, I add 100 to the end of the array. Okay. So if I run this, okay, I'm adding elements to the end of the vector. So right, I'm here. So I add 100 to the end. Then I'm adding 99999 to the end. Right. This print vector is a function I wrote just to write a vector. No, just print a vector. You don't need to worry about that. So pushback is very convenient. Use it as well. Then there's also the sort function. So you don't need to write and whole bubble sort algorithm or a quick sort algorithm or whatever. Just you can just use this sort function to sort the array ascending. Right. So right now it's not actually in an order. Right? It's in like 5, 10,000, 10, 6. It's not in order. It's not sorted. Right. So if I say this and right, after using this sort function, after sorting, it's sorted properly, right? So there should be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It should be 8 here actually. So if I run this whole thing, yeah, I get the same. I get the array in order, right? So there's a lot of very convenient stuff built into these container types of in C++, right? So look into this and use them well. Don't like get trapped in just writing a lot of C and doing the C conventional stuff in C++. Okay. Then for homework, so just stuff you need to look up. How do you do the sorting in descending order? So like right now I get stuff in ascending order, no 1 to 5. So smallest to biggest. How do I do the reverse? You'll have to look into that. Okay. How do you sort in descending order? There's also more stuff like you'll just run into if you search this up in the documentation. So what you don't have to actually use the documentation. You can use Google or ChatGPT or whatever. I don't care, but like actually search this up and please learn what how this sorting function actually works. Okay. It will be very useful for you because it will be giving you some insight into the higher order functions and stuff like that, which is very useful for your programming career. Okay. Then in this print vector function, I'm using this int everywhere. Why is that? You guys just find that out. Okay. So I use this for I is equal to 10, I is smaller than, what is this bracket, int vec size. Vec is an int, vec is a vector. Why am I using this int? Please find out why. It's not a big deal, but like if you don't already know this by the second year, you are not you really need to actually look into this. Okay. Then I use this vector of integers dot begin and dot end functions, right? Here when I'm sorting this begin and end. These are very useful in using C++ container types, right? Almost every container type has this begin and end, and they can be used to do a lot of stuff very quickly. And most of these like this insert function also uses this begin, right? Please learn why this what does this begin function actually give you. So if you just see this definition of the begin function, it says like it's giving you an some long, very long type, right? But it's not really that complicated. It returns a read write iterator that points to the first element of the vector, right? So if you don't understand what that means, you need to search that out. Okay. Then so I can add one. I add one here, but like this gives not an integer, right? So you also need to understand what this +1 means. So it's something like you should know if you have completed the programming with C module in the first semester. But like since this is being recorded, please learn what this means, and it will help you a lot with C and C++ programming. Okay. Then let's go to the next collection type. So there's a lot of collection types I'm going to talk about here. So like you have a lot. It's not always going to be like a number. Like when you're getting data, you can get like just not just a number. Say like you have a problem about books, then you have to have the number of pages or price or whatever, and they're all packed together, right? So you can't like if you are writing in C and you don't know how to do this, you I'll make a string array of a name of books, and give some number, and then I'll make a price of book in array, and then I'll use the same indexes here, and it's going to be a lot of pain, right? So we have this convenient stuff like convenient container types that are very useful for like packed data. Okay, so like I written a function to print the book, right? Print a book. So the implementation doesn't really matter. So I put the name Harry Potter and a double value 5,000 as the price. So if I run this, okay, let me just comment out the other stuff. Okay, right. The printbook function has the book number, and if the book's name and price is just being printed, right? So I can just I have the book name and price as just variables. So I'm gonna run that, and it will just show the book Harry Potter is 5,000 rupees, right? But this having individual variables for the book name and the price, that's very inconvenient, right? So you can just use a pair. The pair is a type that has two whatever data types you want. Okay, so I have a pair of, in the angle brackets, I have two data types. This might be new to you if you're only familiar with C, but like this pair has two data types inside. Okay, you don't have to like make a void pointer and then malloc it and then use some flag to know what the data type is. No, you don't need to do any of that. Just this pair container type can have whatever two data types you want. So if I want to make it a float, I can do that. But like it's very convenient because you can put two values of whatever types you want and just store it in this book variable. Then those two values you can access again using the book.first. So this first string type, the string type value, is accessed by the book.first. So this variables dot first means this first data to give to the pair, and the second is also same. So this 5,000 is given by the second. So if I just comment this out and use the pair instead, it use the same result here, and I can just these values are also modifiable. So if I just book.first is equal, if I say book.first is equal to Harry Potter 2, it'll just change. We don't need to like do anything else. Just say book.first is equal to Harry Potter 2. If I want to change the price again, book.second is equal to 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever. Right? It's mutable, so you can change it as you want. So first it's Harry Potter is 5,000, then it's 10,000. It's very convenient, right? But say you have more than 2, what do you do then? There's more than 2 values you want to add to the data type or whatever your collection, right? Then you can use a tuple. Tuples are very popular in other programming languages, but like in C++, it's not really used a lot because it's a kind of verbose to use, right? So in this tuple, in a pair, you can only use 2 data types in the pair object, but in a tuple, you can use however many you want. But the number of data types is going to be fixed, but like you can use however many you want. So I put a string, a double, and an integer in a code new book. So it's Harry Potter 2, and given a price 6,000 and an integer 20 as the book number, right? And to access each of these values, you use this get syntax. So it's going to be get the index of the data type you want, data member you want to access, and then you open brackets and give the tuples name, new book. This is how you access data in the tuple, but like this is not used a lot because tuples are like this get syntax is kind of ugly. No, you don't need to use this a lot in your programming, but like know that it's there, and if you see it, don't get confused. Okay, so you can if I comment this out, I'll just print this book again, Harry Potter 2, using a tuple. Using tuple, this number 20 is also given in this printbook function, the number. If it's not 0, I'm printing it as a number. So that's also given here, right? I've given 3 arguments: get 0 new book, get 1 new book, and get 2 new book. So Harry Potter 2, the value and the integer. So those are being used here. So that's easy to put a lot of not a lot, but like a few unrelated data types. If you want to keep them together, you can use a tuple, right? And for tuples, you can tuples, arrays, tuples, pairs, whatever you want. You can also use them as arrays, right? So I put a book tuple array, and it's as Harry Potter 1, Harry Potter 2, Harry Potter 3. You can use whatever you want, right? Don't get confused if you see this stuff, but like tuples are kind of unnecessary for your coding. You're not going to be using tuples a lot, right? Because there's also the limitation of that tuples, you can't change the value once you put it there. So there is just get syntax to get the value, but there is no set or whatever to change it again. So tuples are kind of inflexible like that. if you already done C, you know what structs are, right? Structs are also something like a tuple, but like it works differently. So a struct is a kind of data type you define yourself. So this book is a data type, right? But book isn't a data type that comes default with C++. So you use the struct keyword to make a new data type of your own. So this book data type has three member variables: name, price, and number. So this is something that comes straight from C. So that's very easy. I make a new array of books: Harry Potter, Harry Potter 2, Harry Potter 3. Then these aren't like immutable like tuples. You can change them as you wish. So I am changing the second book's name to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. No, the third one, because it's an array. So I'm changing it to this name, and it just works, right? So I'm going to be printing this book array I made using the struct book. So let's see. Please tell me if I'm going too fast. I'm not actually looking at the chat or anything, so please tell me if I'm going too fast. Then using the struct, I got book number 1 is Harry Potter. It's 5,000. Then it's 6,000, and then it's a 7,000. And the name that I changed is also here, right? The Prisoner of Azkaban is here. So structs are very useful like that. You can just make whatever data type you want with whatever member data types you want, member data you want, and use this names you give to the data types is names you give to the member variables easily. So very useful structs. These structs are very useful. Use them whenever you can. Yeah. I'm going to comment this out again. Then there's the classes. Classes are something that comes in C++, Java, and other object-oriented programming languages. Okay, they are just in C++, class and structs are kind of interchangeable, but try not to do that. It's very ugly if you do what you do with classes in the structs. So please just use class when it's a class and struct when it's a struct. So this public means it's an access specifier. I'm not going to talk about access specifiers here, but please learn what they are. So just like a struct, classes have member variables, like you can give whatever names you want to them. And there's using the name of the class, you can write a constructor function of the same name that gets some values and initiates a class, initiates a object of the class that you are going to make new. So then there can also be member functions, like I made this function that returns a double called price doubled. So it just returns this price, which I defined here and given in the I assigned in the constructor function to be p. So I'm multiplying it by 2 and returning it again. So I've done this here like this, but let's not do that. Let me just comment all that out. So usually you would make a new book object using the name of the class, then new whatever name of the variable. I'll just say book. So and I can use this constructors values here. So book boo, and I'll give a string. That's a good book. I don't know. I'll say nice. Then I'll give the double value price, and I'll say 1,000. then the number, book number will be like 5. So this is how you usually initiate a object using a class type. Okay, this is using the class constructor is being called here. So when I just say, when I'm just calling the new variable with the brackets, it'll call this function and put this n, double, n, p, and num into the member variables that I've defined here. Okay. So if I try to print book and give boo dot name, boo dot price, and boo dot number, it will just work. This has been initialized with these maths 1005. Okay, so if I run that, number 5, the book maths is 1000, right? It has been initialized. So you can also use this other initialization method, but like this uses pointers and it's kind of complicated, and there is a difference in the using this method and the previous method. So I hope you guys learn what that is, but it's not really important for competitive programming, so learn it later. And I'll go back to the normal explanation. So book class, I created an array just like before, and initialize values like using this curly braces. Curly braces are like pretty much the universal initialization method for collection types. Like you can initialize any collection type like this using the curly braces, and it's pretty much like an array. So don't be afraid of using curly braces and just use it. And I'm now using this class array of book class types to print this out again, Harry Potter 2 and Harry Potter 3, and it gives these values 5,000, 6,000, and 7,000, right? But I wrote this member function price double before, right? So if I just use this function, so if I just use this instead of book class array I dot price, I can use book class array dot I dot price doubled, the function I'm calling here. So when I'm calling this price double function, it will give that price multiplied by 2, right? So that's very convenient. So you don't have to put meaningless stuff like price doubled, but you will get stuff that's actually relevant to your problem. So when you have a lot of data types that are together and you need to do some operations on them, you can use a class like this. Okay, so if I run this again, it will first give the with class the values 5,000, 6,000, and 7,000, but after I use this price double function, it will give me 10,000 for 5,000 and 12,000 for 6,000 and 14,000 for 7,000, right? So classes are very useful when you are using a lot of data that's together. So use them very well. And for the stuff you have to search up, what's the difference between a class and a struct? There are differences, even though I said before that they are kind of interchangeable, but there are differences. Please find out what those are. Then I briefly touched upon what these access specifiers are. So I put public here, right? There's also a few more. So please find out what they are and what those access specifiers are and what they do. Use them. So there are some new second years also in your project as well. Please use them. Don't just put public for everything. Okay. Then there's I made this book book class constructor here, right? There's also a thing called a destructor. So I want second year should already know, because you did this in the new second year should already know, because you did this in the first year, second semester. So what the destructor is, if you don't know, please look it up. Okay. So that's it about pairs, tuples, and classes. Let's go to the next one. This is a kind of a, this might be new to some of you. So this is another collection type called set. A set. These are the kind of stuff that actually very useful for competitive programming. So please pay attention now. So in this set type, you can have however many duplicates you want, but you will only get one. So it's a collection of sorted unique values. Please remember this. So only unique values are kept. Duplicates are not kept. So I assigned here 10, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again, and 6. You can clearly see that there are a lot of duplicates, right? 1, 2, 3, 5 is, of course, duplicated here. But when it's a set, you don't actually keep those duplicates. You will only keep one of each. Okay. So I'll just comment this out, and I'll print it. You know how this works, right? Because Samindu already explained to you, so you can just use this set of numbers. So these collection types can also be used like this. So giving an the normal colon, you can print iterate through the values in there. So when I run this, see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? This isn't sorted, right? You see that this is in some random order, and there's duplicates, and all those are gone. And around that, I get the same, the values in sorted order and without any duplicates, right? I'm not going to tell you what kind of problems you will be using this for, but it's very useful. Please remember what sets are. Okay. Then there's also the how to find out whether a value is inside the set. So you use this function called set.find. So I'm trying to find whether 11 is inside this set of numbers, right? And if the find function does not return something that's not the end of the set, I'll say that the 11 is in the set. So this find function will give you an iterator that's like something like begin or end, that points to the 11 if it exists in the set, right? So if it doesn't exist, it'll just give you a set of numbers dot end. So the end value will be given. So if 11 is here, it'll not give end. So this is how you use find to know whether a value is inside the set or not. So if I run this, 11 is clearly here. So it should just give me 11 is in the set. But if I remove this, and run it again, 11 is not in the set, right? Very useful. So remember that and use it well. And in set int, you notice that you don't have to give a in all the collection types. No, not all the collection types, like this set and the collections vector. You don't need to actually give the length, right? I hope you got that when I was explaining vectors as well. So in stuff like set and vectors, you don't need to actually give the length of that, and you just use it freely like this. Okay. So the initialization is also just like a vector. So set and give the data type of the set. There can't be many types here, but like this for sets, you can only use one data type in each set, but that's not going to be a problem because it's supposed to be a sorted unique values. So you can, it won't be a problem for you. So then there's also more functions like clear. So if I say set of numbers dot clear, it will just remove all these values in the set of numbers and make it empty, right? So I try to reprint it again after using clear, it will give me nothing, right? 11 is in the set because I printed that. Now if I'm since I'm printing it again after using clear, there's nothing because the set has been empty. You can apply this a lot in like graph functions and stuff like that, especially in difficult programming problems, but just know what that is. So there's also the function like empty, which is whether a set is empty. I'm using a ternary operator to say, since I already cleared this, is obviously empty, so I'm using a ternary operator to say that this set is either empty or not. Okay, so if I run this, it will say set is empty, but if I don't clear it and comment that out, it will say set isn't empty and print out the data in the set as well, right? You might not get why I'm talking about this clear stuff and empty stuff, because they kind of seem irrelevant, but they're very useful in computer programming and normal programming problems. Okay. For homework, no, just for you to look up, you can just see how you can erase a specific value in a set. So if you want to like remove this 11 manually, as in with a function, please find out how you can do that. It's very easy. It wouldn't like take you like 2 minutes to find out. So please look it up. Okay. Then let's go to the next collection type and the last one, I think. So this is the map collection type or container type, collection, container, whatever, both are kind of the same. So a map is a kind of a collection of pairs. You already know what pairs are, right? So it has a key value. So as I've written here, a map is a collection of key value pairs, a key and a value pair that is ordered by the key itself. So I put this stuff in order. No? So change the order here, but like I made this initial. So map has two data types as just like pairs. So int and string I've used here. You can use string or whatever you want. So int, string, any data type works as long as it's has a comparison function, but like that's not really important. So you usually want to need that. So I put a map of integer key with the value of string for each key, and I've named it months. So for this one months map, you can use this assignment operator like with the key and the value given like this. So I've given months 5 is equal to May, month 6 is equal to June. So I've done that like this, and it's the normal way to initialize values in a map. But like you can also use this months.insert. Then I made here kind of a array looking thing, right? But it's not an array, it's a pair. So map is created using a set of pairs. Okay, I written this here. a map is a collection of pairs underneath. So even though we say map int string, it's actually kind of a collection of pairs in a certain data structure. This data structure, some of you might know. So it uses this data structure to preserve the order. So I've just I've initialized these months of the year now. So I'll comment out everything else. Give me a moment. I've inserted January, February, March, and not in order, but not in order in the code, but the actual order is preserved using this data structure that is using underneath. Okay, so I'm iterating through the months map as pairs, like before we used integers and strings or whatever. You can use a pair to pair of int and string to iterate through the months map, because it's a map of integers and strings. So I can iterate through the map using pairs. Okay, so I'm printing out month number is month number first. So the integer is the string, so the name of the month, right? So run this, it'll give me, right? So in order, in proper order, even though I say 5 first, it'll give me in order. First month number 1 is January, February, March, April, right? Very convenient. This is something like very similar to the dictionary in Python, and there's also some more similar data structures in other programming languages as well. So it's a very convenient thing to use. Let's see this then. Did I actually initialize a value for the 13th key? We didn't, right? So there's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I've inserted 12 here as well. But there's nothing for 13, right? Usually, if you try to access a value in an array that's not set, it's going to either give you what's that, out of bounds error, or a segmentation fault, or in a map. No trouble like that. It'll just give you the default value of the string type. You don't need to worry about uninitialized values, as long as it's a valid key. So as long as the key is of the given type, so 13 is an integer, it's fine. So it'll just give you the default value for string, right? So I'll just comment this out because that's not really important. So 13th month is 13th month 13 is just an empty string. If I want to show you, so I'll just put this random stuff here. So this month 13 is just given as an empty string. Remember this because it's going to be very convenient for you, right? So in maps, you get the default value of the data type if you haven't actually initialized it. Very convenient. Use it. So I'll show you how it can be used very conveniently. So I'm going to comment this out again, and it's a common use for maps to like count stuff. A lot of times you will be using this. So there's a lot of times you'll have to count stuff. So like I have this string of sentence called lorem ipsum is simply dummy text for the printing and text of the printing and typesetting order. Okay, so This. So I created a new map for with the key of char and an integer as value. Notice that I've never actually initialized the integers to be whatever. Okay. So I'm going to loop through the chars in this sentence variable, and for the key of I, so the each char, so L and O and R and E, I'm going to access this key in this counts map and increment the value. But like there's nothing to increment because we didn't say like it's 0 or 1 or 10 or the normal in the map, the default value for integer is given as 0. So very convenient. You can just for the char, for each char, you get integer, the second value integer as 0 by default. So when you first access this counts with the key capital L, it'll have the value 0 already. Then you using this increment, you can just add one more to say that there's an L here, right? So very easy to count stuff with these maps, and there's a lot more that you can use these maps for, but this is just an example. So then I'm going to loop through the counts as this count pair and just say that this each character occurs in the sentence this many times, count the seconds. So the integer that I set using this loop. Okay. I'll run this now. So for the I forgot to mention that no, I did mention that. So the keys are also ordered because it's a map. So as I said before, order is preserved using a certain data structure. So this space is considered, space is the smallest value. So it occurs 10 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? 10 spaces. So space occurs 10 times. Dot occurs 1 time. There's only one dot. I occurs 1 times. Ipsum I, right? Then A occurs 1 time. That there's I occurs 5 times, right? It's correctly counted, right? You don't have to worry about actually say if you no, I'll just show you. So if you try to I'll not show you. If you try to do this in Python, for example, using a dictionary, you would have to see whether this I is already inside the dictionary, and if it's not, make it 1. Then if it is already inside the dictionary, add 1 to it. No such hassle here. Just add 1 because by default it's 0, right? The default value of the data type is given to the map's value, but not the key. The key has to be actually in there, or no, the key can be accessed anyway. It'll just give you the value, the default value of the data type. So very convenient to use this in C++ as well. So I've seen this here. So this is just a map, right? Then there's also the unordered map. Pretty much the same thing, but there's a key difference, and you have to know what that is. So I'll comment this out. So kind of it works kind of the same way. So just says unordered at the beginning, but it's pretty much the same as map initialization. So this map in counts is initialized like map char int, but this unordered counts is initialized as unordered map char int. Pretty much the same, but there's a difference. So I'm doing the same thing here again. So I'm iterating through the sentence and changing the count in the data. So is this happening? So I'll print it again, but this time using an unordered map. Okay. So there's no order. So the space is here, dot is here, A is here. So A, then E is here, no order. Seems kind of useless, isn't it? But there's a specific reason that I've shown you this in competitive programming and normal programming as well. Please know. So that's I included this just for homework. So you need to know what the underlying data structures of map and the unordered map are, both of them. So this map is ordered and the unordered map is not ordered, but these use completely different data structures. So please learn what those are. Don't ask me, just Google it or ChatGPT, whatever. Learn what those are, and using those and knowing what those data structures are, please learn why and where you should use an unordered map over a map. Because like maps look more useful right now, right? Because like they're ordered and the values are so. I'll say one trick. If you use a string as a key, this string comparison will just happen, and it'll actually be sorted using ascending order for strings as well. So very useful looking thing these maps are, right? If you use a string as a key as well, there'll probably be some questions in the problems in the 8 weeks of code as well that use this string ordering, but maps do it by kind of default. So maps look a lot very useful to you, but there are places that the unordered map is the only choice. Please find out what those are. Okay, I think that's about it. I have to explain. So yeah, connections part 5. So that's it for the session, I think. And oh, I forgot one thing that I wanted to show you. So I'll show you that and stop the session. So these array indexes and stuff, right? Very cumbersome to actually see. So this is the 0th, this is the 0th index, and this is the first index, right? If you're using VS Code, just go to settings and search for inlay hints and turn it on. Okay, so yeah, you'll just get like this. If you haven't already done this, please do it. But if it's kind of annoying, you can just turn the thing to on off unless pressed, and just press Control Alt to activate it, and it's very convenient. So please use that. There's a lot of tricks like that you can search on the internet for, and I hope you guys have a good time programming for the competition and the rest of the academic years as well. So I think that's it. I'll stop sharing, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Samitu Ayya and Pududu Ayya. I'm pretty sure this session fans who are here today. So before moving on to our Q&A session, let's make this session something memorable for all of us. So I would like to invite you all to switch on your cameras to take a photograph to mark the today's session. Please set the photo we have shared in the chat as your background. All right, thank you. Now it's the time for our participants to come up with their questions. You can either unmute yourself and ask questions or post it to the chat. Participants, you can either unmute yourself and ask questions or post anything to the chat. Okay, there's one question. What is the difference between new and malloc in C++? Ubudaya?
So new is kind of like it's pretty much the same thing, but new is kind of the new modern way of using it. So malloc also gets a address from the heap and allocates some memory to it. So and new just creates an instance of a class, and it's kind of easier to use new because malloc you have to give the actual size of the variable and size of the data type, and there can be errors and it's very cumbersome. So please, if you're using C++, just use new, and after you are done using your variable, just use delete to delete that. The malloc and free and those are kind of the old paradigm, so don't use that please in C++. In C, please use malloc, whatever you want, but in C++, please use new, and if you're actually going to be using this in production, just use there's like shared pointers and unique pointers, use those instead. Okay.
Thank you.
Also, I forgot something, so let me share this screen again. Very sorry about this, but where is this? So I'll give you this PDF as well. So for competitive programming, you should also look into this stuff. So I forgot to say this stuff in the session as well. So there's this thing called preprocessor macros. You'll see this a lot if you like go see other people's code in code forces, so and hacker rank or what's the other ones, lead code, everything. They'll be using a lot of preprocessor macros. Look up what those are. They're very powerful, but don't use this in production code. So like normal code, don't use this a lot. There's times you can use this, but it's not supposed to be used everywhere. So look up what preprocessor macros are and use those in comparations. In memory allocation, he possesses that the question, who was it that asked the question, new and what about new and malloc. So I also wanted to ask you guys to look it up. So heap versus stack, how that works. Like, don't abuse the stack. So when you like go through like a lot of recursive functions and stuff like that, you will most definitely at some point abuse the stack and run out of memory. So look up what heap versus stack is, and I also asked you before to look up how passing through reference works. So those are all connected. So please look those up. Then the data structures. The first year there are some data structures like stack, linked list, trees, or whatever. So like there's a lot more. Look up all as much as you can of them. Just not just for computer programming, but for your interviews and for the future as well. Please learn as many data structures as you can, but like don't do it half-heartedly. Learn where they should be used, and when they should be used, and what are the advantages, disadvantages, everything. Please learn as much as you can. Then there's stuff like C++ built-in algorithms. Very useful for computer programming, not very useful otherwise, but please learn the stuff like accumulate and partial sum, and those you'll usually just write using for loops or whatever, but like these are very optimized. So there's a lot of built-in algorithms like that, especially in the algorithm header. So look those up. I recommend you actually use the C++ documentation instead of just using ChatGPT or whatever. So the documentation is the best way to learn this stuff. So, and we kind of missed bitwise operations. So, you know, like Samit talked about AND operation and O operation, but like those were logical operations. But bitwise operations, there's a lot of unique applications of bitwise operations that you can especially use in competitive programming. So please look those up. And there's also this bitset collection or container. Not very useful for normal programming, but bitset is extremely useful for computer programming when it comes to stuff that has a lot of Boolean values. Because say you have like 10 million true and false values. If you make like array of what do you say, Booleans, it'll take like 1 million bytes, right? That's not very efficient. Bitset allows you to use the actual 1 bit in the computer's CPU and memory. So bitset is extremely important if you want to actually use the bit itself. So look up what the bitset container is, and the bitset is very powerful because you can use these bitwise operations on bitset as well. So bitset is like the longest kind of data type you have is long. So you can use bitwise operations on that long data type. So bitset long has like I think 64 bits. So but with bitset you can use 10,000 bits, a million bits, whatever you want. So very powerful. I hope you guys learn what that is. I'll give you this PDF with all the code that we used, both me and Samitu. So I'll put that in the chat, and I hope the organizing committee will also distribute this one. And that's it, I think. Are there any more questions? Please ask.
That's it, Aya. There's no more questions in the chat. Okay, so I would like to take a moment to appreciate our speakers for the day, Pubudu Aya and Samudu Aya, for taking time off from their busy schedule to share their knowledge and experience with our participants. Thank you very much for joining with us today. Also, participants, your feedback is very important to us. I kindly ask everyone to take a moment to fill out the feedback form in the Zoom chat. This would greatly help our team to correct our mistakes and make the next event even better. As we have reached the end of today's session, my heartfelt appreciation goes to everyone who joined and stayed with us until the very end. See you again with something exciting. Till then, good night and goodbye.